Hello, everyone, and welcome to Firstpost America. I'm Eric Ham, and we're live in the nation's capital of Washington, D.C. And over the next few minutes, we'll take you from the United States and around the world, covering all the top stories of the day. But before that, here's a look at the latest headlines. President Donald Trump reiterates his wish of making Canada the 51st state of the U.S. and taking over Gaza to rebuild the Strip. The comments were made at the Super Bowl during a pregame interview. President Trump announces 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum imports starting today. The United States is the world's largest importer of steel and aluminum, while China is the largest producer of the two metals. Ecuador will hold an election runoff as both the incumbent president, Daniel Noboa, and the left-wing challenger, Luisa Gonzalez, fail to secure the majority vote. The second round of voting will be held in April. South Korea and the United States hold large-scale live-fire military drills as tensions in the region rise over North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's nuclear threats. And Indonesia rolls out nationwide free health screening, including blood pressure tests and eye checkups starting today. The program allows Indonesians to get the free screening on their respective birthdays. We begin in the United States as President Donald Trump said he spoke to his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin, but declined to provide any details about their talks. President Trump said that the United States is making progress in its conversations to end the war in Ukraine, which is just days away from entering its fourth year. Now, the commander-in-chief also added that he was not just talking to Russia, but also Ukraine, and reiterated that the war would not have happened in the first place if he was in fact president.
I've had it. Let's just say I've had it. And I expect to have many more conversations. We have to get that war ended. It's going to end, and we have to get it ended. And we have to get it ended soon. Should have never happened, would have never happened if I was president. Well, they can assume that. It makes sense. Well, I don't want to talk about it. And if we are talking, I don't want to tell you about the conversation. It's too early. But I do believe we're making progress. We want to stop the Ukraine-Russia war. And I want to stop it just because I hate to see all these young people being killed. The soldiers are being killed by the hundreds of thousands. We're talking to both sides.
President Trump's confirmation of talks marks the first officially acknowledged conversation between the two leaders since the beginning of the war in Ukraine. Now, speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One, President Trump also confirmed that he would like to meet Putin, but only at the right time.
I would imagine I would be meeting with Putin, yes, at the right time. I think at the right time, at the appropriate time.
Now, the Kremlin has declined to confirm or deny the phone call between the two leaders. And the Kremlin spokesperson went on to say that while there were many different communications emerging, he was unaware of such a call. Now, during his re-election campaign, President Trump promised to end the Russia-Ukraine war within 24 hours of taking office, a key campaign promise that has so far proved elusive. Once in office, the 47th president reportedly instructed his special Ukraine envoy, Keith Kellogg, to end the war in 100 days. And he's also repeatedly said that he would meet Putin, though a date or venue of such a meeting has not been announced. Now, in the coming days, a flurry of U.S. officials are in fact heading to Europe to discuss the war, including Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, and Trump's special envoy for Ukraine, Keith Kellogg. And National Security Advisor Mike Waltz had earlier indicated that President Trump is also willing to use sanctions and tariffs to coax Putin to the negotiating table. For now, however, President Trump appears to have taken a conventional path to the conflict itself. And staying in the United States, the Trump administration has announced that it will deport another group of illegal Indian migrants this week. At least 600 illegal migrants from India will be reportedly sent back. Now, last week, the Trump administration deported around 100 Indian migrants as well. But now New Delhi is protesting the treatment of the migrants who were shackled and deported in handcuffs. Though Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has in fact agreed to work with President Donald Trump on taking back the deported migrants, the Indian government has urged the White House to send back the migrants in a more humane setting.
Of course, engaging the US government to ensure that the returning deportees are not mistreated in any manner during the flight. At the same time, the House will appreciate that our focus should be on strong crackdown on the illegal migration industry. It is up to the authority of the Immigration Customs Authority to charter an aircraft. It could be a military aircraft, but whichever aircraft comes in, it is under the authority of the ICE. The procedure, whether it was a military aircraft, whether it was a chartered aircraft, was exactly the same.
Meanwhile, several Indian migrants who were deported last week have spoken out about the harrowing ordeal, where they were denied food, water, and access to restrooms for nearly 40 hours.
उधर हमारे हाथों में हथकड़ी, पैरों में हथकड़ी लगाकर तो उसने हमको बोला कि आप कैंप पर जा रहे हैं, लेकिन कैंप पर नहीं भेजा उसने। हम एयरपोर्ट पे लेकर गए तो जहाज़ में हमें बैठा दिया, कहते हैं आप इंडिया जा रहे हो। फिर हमको 40 घंटे लगे अमृतसर एयरपोर्ट पहुंचने के लिए। जब वो पहुंचा तो उसने हमारे पैरों हाथ की बेड़ी खोल दी,
हथकड़ी लगा दी थी भाई। जो कैंप में तो निकाले ना, वहाँ तक डिटेंशन सेंटर बोला है उसने, और तो निकाले थे। जितनी लेडीज़ थी, बच्चों ने छोड़ गए, लेडीज़ थी जितने 18 साल तक ऊपर के लड़के थे, जेंट्स थे, सभी का हथकड़ी लगा दी, पैरों में हाथों में लगा दी भाई। वही बंदा ने वॉशरूम भी करना हुआ, फ्रेश भी होना हुआ, ऐसी कोई सुविधा नहीं दी गई। खाना खाने के लिए नहीं हथकड़ी खोली, कभी नहीं खोली।
Now, the latest group of around 600 illegal Indian migrants were detained last week at the Mexico border and have been issued final deportation orders. India has verified the identities of these migrants and has agreed to take them back this week. Now, according to news agency AFP, the next deportation flight of illegal Indian migrants could cost the United States close to $1 million if the C-17 military transport aircraft is used again. The Trump administration has identified more than 200,000 illegal Indian migrants in the country that will be deported this year. If President Trump is unable to find an alternative method to carry out the deportation, sending back the illegal migrants could cost American taxpayers millions of dollars per flight, making it one of the most expensive deportation programs in the world. Vice President J.D. Vance is under fire for defending a DOGE employee who posted racist comments about Indians. This despite the vice president's wife, Usha Vance, being of Indian origin herself. Marco Elise, a 25-year-old engineer, resigned after his Burner X account revealed posts like normalize Indian hate and, quote, I was racist before it was cool, end quote. But Vance called for his rehiring, claiming social media mistakes shouldn't ruin a kid's life. Now, critics are, in fact, calling out the vice president's hypocrisy, questioning his defense of racism that targets his own family. Our next report dives deeper into the growing controversy.
The Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, is no stranger to controversy, but his latest move has stunned even his supporters. Vance, whose wife Usha is the daughter of Indian immigrants, is advocating for the rehiring of a former Department of Government Efficiency or DOGE engineer who posted blatant racist comments targeting Indians.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Marco Elise, a 25-year-old Rutgers graduate, found himself at the center of a firestorm after the Wall Street Journal revealed his secret X account. Among his posts were statements like, normalize Indian hate, I was racist before it was cool, and you could not pay me to marry outside of my ethnicity. Obviously, after the backlash, Elise resigned, but Vance wasn't ready to let him go. I don't think stupid social media activity should ruin a kid's life, Vance posted on X. Yes, the Vice President of the United States defended a man who publicly called for hatred against Indians, the very community his own wife and children belonged to, and the irony wasn't lost on anyone. That's when Elon Musk, founder of DOGE and owner of X, decided to take the matter to a public poll. Bring back DOGE staffer who made inappropriate statements via a now-deleted pseudonym, he asked. The poll closed with 78% voting in favor of Elise's return, and Musk responded, he will be brought back. Even the President of the United States, Donald Trump, supported his vice president and his billionaire buddy, Elon Musk. Responding to questions at a press conference with Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba at the White House, Trump said he supports Vance and agrees with him, declaring, I am with the vice president.
As part of this DOGE cost-cutting effort, one of the DOGE engineers was fired for some inappropriate posts. The vice president says, bring him back. What do you say?
Well, I don't know about the particular thing, but if the vice president said that, did you say that? I'm with the vice president. Thank you, Peter.
But forgiveness wasn't on everyone's mind. Social media exploded with criticism, especially from Indian Americans. Congressman Ro Khanna fired back. Are you going to tell him to apologize for saying normalize Indian hate before this rehire? Just asking for the sake of both of our kids. Yet Vance remained defiant and was quick to respond. First, he dismissed the backlash as emotional blackmail. Then, responding to Khanna's tweet, he said, racist trolls on the internet, while offensive, don't threaten my kids. You know what does? A culture that denies grace to people who make mistakes. But critics weren't buying it. Easy for J.D. Vance to say this when his kids are covered by 24/7 security, one user commented. And another reminded Vance of his old words when he said exactly the opposite, pointing towards the president of leading a movement of vile racists. Now, this isn't just about one engineer's hateful posts, it's about MAGA's double standards. When black NFL players kneeled, MAGA demanded permanent bans. When liberal figures slipped up, MAGA called for boycotts. But when a white engineer posts normalize Indian hate, he gets a poll, forgiveness, and full public support. So as LS returns to DOGE, Indian Americans are left wondering, is there truly a place for them in this movement? Or are they just tokens, embraced when convenient, but discarded when their presence becomes uncomfortable? Because one thing is clear, MAGA's loyalty has limits, and it doesn't seem to extend to everyone.
And staying in the United States, an account linked to President Donald Trump claims Hungarian-American billionaire George Soros is responsible for interfering in the political landscape of many countries. The account claims that Soros used a hefty $260 million from USAID to spread chaos, change governments, and pursue personal gain in countries such as India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Ukraine. Now, this comes as the Trump administration continues to freeze USAID's budget, describing its initiatives as misaligned with American interests and accusing them of destabilizing global peace.
Well, many ideas, but look, he's done a great job. Look at all the fraud that he's found in this USAID. It's a disaster what the people, radical left lunatics, they have things that nobody would have even believed. The whole thing with $100 million spent on you know what, with money going to all sorts of groups that shouldn't deserve to get any money, with the money, I'd like to see what the kickbacks are.
And billionaire Elon Musk, who's been critical of what he calls woke and controversial international projects, backs the smear campaign against Soros. In fact, this all comes as Donald Trump's administration has shuttered the nation's premier development agency.
Well, it doesn't, but they get it very easily. I mean, we don't have very good security in our country, and they get it very easily. And what we're doing, if you look at what has just taken place with respect to some of the investments that have been made on another agency that people have been talking about for years, but nobody did anything about it, it's absolutely obscene, dangerous, bad, very costly. I mean, virtually every investment made is a con job. There's nothing of value to anybody unless there's a kickback scheme going on, which is possible. And we're going to be doing more and more of that.
Meanwhile, in Hungary, Prime Minister and Trump ally Viktor Orban has taken a stronger stance. Orban, in fact, has pledged to expose foreign-funded organizations and ensure legal consequences for those receiving money from abroad.
In America, we would call them agents, as they do not serve their own country, but accept money from another power. We don't call them agents, But these are people and organizations paid from abroad whose job is to overthrow the Hungarian government.
The move has also drawn criticism from the EU and international bodies, with the European Commission launching an infringement procedure this month, citing threats to democratic values. But despite this, Orban remains defiant, warning that foreign networks must be swept out to protect Hungary's sovereignty.
We are talking about a dark thing here. Brussels, the Soros Foundation, the U.S. budget, they have channeled big amounts of money with a political purpose into the political life of certain countries. So that everyone understands, they must be swept out, and this must be stopped now that the U.S. president has taken action. When, if not now?
So as the battle intensifies, one question lingers. How far will nations go to cut off foreign influence? And is this really the beginning of the end for not just Soros-backed projects, but for the U.S. Agency for International Development itself? And we end today in New Orleans at the star-studded Super Bowl. The grand sporting event this year included a healthy dose of politics as President Donald Trump created history by becoming the first ever sitting U.S. president to attend the big game. And his impromptu salute during the national anthem has sparked social media debate, while Taylor Swift, there to support her boyfriend Travis Kelce, was met with a mix of cheers and boos from the crowd, and Kendrick Lamar took his halftime show to the next level, throwing shade at rapper Drake. Here's some of the biggest moments from the Big Easy.
Super Bowl Sunday is supposed to be all about football. Touchdowns, jaw-dropping plays, and the sweet sound of fans losing their minds. It felt more like a pop culture circus with a little sprinkle of political theater and a giant side of WTF. The Eagles may have flown their way to victory over the Kansas City Chiefs, but the true spectacle took place off the field. Well, mostly. If you weren't glued to your television, you missed a show that might just have been more entertaining than the game itself. But we've got you covered with all the highlights. First, let's talk about US President Donald Trump's salute during the national anthem. Now, typically, we associate salute with military personnel, but leave it to Trump to make us all question everything we thought we knew about tradition. He became the first ever sitting president to attend a Super Bowl, despite many saying it would politicize the sport, and joining him was his daughter, Ivanka Trump. Now, many former presidents like Barack Obama, George W. Bush, and Joe Biden opted to stay out of the Super Bowl while in office, but Trump decided to change that pattern, setting history. And it wasn't just his attendance that sparked controversy. As John Batiste belted out the Star-Spangled Banner, President Trump was caught on camera saluting the flag like he was leading the charge in a war zone. Cue the Twitter after the salute. Does he even know what this means? One user asked. Isn't he supposed to be commander-in-chief? Other quipped. But he is the president of the United States, and nothing says I'm the boss like an uninvited salute. But President Trump wasn't the only one making waves. Enter Taylor Swift, the queen of pop and the unofficial mascot of You Can't Please Everyone. There she was on the Jumbotron just trying to support her boyfriend Travis Kelce, but the crowd exploded into a chorus of cheers, followed by boos. Taylor, being Taylor, handled it like a pro. She threw a side-eye that could melt steel and flashed a smile so cool she might as well have dropped the mic. Sure, everyone loves her, but she also knows how to handle the haters, especially when they are cheering for someone else as well. And of course, Kendrick Lamar couldn't resist adding his own drama to the mix. During his halftime show, Lamar went full savage mode and took direct shots at rapper Drake. This happened in front of millions of viewers. Why? Because Kendrick is not like us. With a wink and a nod to the camera, Kendrick dropped a line from his Grammy-winning track Not Like Us, and then he casually referenced rapper Drake's ongoing legal battles. And just when fans thought it wouldn't get spicier, Kendrick's performance included video clips of two of Drake's exes, Serena Williams and Czar. Talk about a mic drop moment. The internet was set ablaze and Drake was probably somewhere plotting his next move. We won't be surprised if it involves the word lawsuit. But wait, there's more. During the halftime show, one person decided to go rogue. He unfurled a Sudanese-Palestinian flag on the field. Naturally, the NFL went into damage control mode by announcing that the flag wasn't part of the planned performance, and then banned the person from attending any NFL events for lifetime. So was the Super Bowl 2025 actually about football? Not so much. It was more of a reality TV spectacle with some football tossed in for good measure. From President Trump's historic attendance, to Taylor Swift's ability to win over or annoy millions of fans, and Kendrick Lamar throwing serious shade at Drake, whom Kendrick calls colleague turned colonizer. This was a Super Bowl where everything except the game took center stage.
That's First Post America for this Monday. I'm Eric Ham signing off from our studios here in Washington. Thanks everyone for tuning in.